Hello students. So in this lecture we will be talking about point 1, how much energy would it take to assemble a collection of point charges and the second point we will discuss is about the energy density. For a continuous charge distribution. Now let us deal with point 1. Suppose there are 3 point charges, Q3, say here it is Q2 and Q1 present in space. And let's say the respective distance between them is given by the R321, 22, R221 and R322, and let's say Q1 is present at the position vector R1. Similarly, Q2 is present at the position vector R2 and Q3 is present at position vector R3. Let's say this is R1. Similarly, this is R3 and this is R2. So let us calculate the energy stored into the collection of Q1, Q3, Q2 and Q3 point charges, and eventually we will generalize it for n number of charges. So how much energy is stored in this system of point charges? So as we have studied in the previous lecture, that the stored energy in an electric field for any discharge is given by Qt is the test charge multiplied by the potential at the point where the charge is present. Let's say some electric field is present and we want to bring a test charge Qt from infinity to some point R in this space. Then we had discussed that the total work done to bring that test charge is given by the magnitude of charge multiplied by the potential at present at that point due to this electric field. Same way, then let us calculate. Now total work done will be stored as potential energy of the system. Now let us start with, suppose that at infinity all the three charges are present, Q1, Q2 and Q3. Now let us bring the charge Q1 at the position vector R1. Same point. Now since at this point of time, since no electric field is present in the space, hence there is no potential present there, therefore no work has to be done in bringing the charge from infinity to the point R1 in space, and therefore we can say that the work done in bringing the charge Q1 is equal to 0. Now let's say, now this charge is placed in space. Now this charge will produce its own electric field in space, and corresponding to which there will be some potential in space. Suppose now we want to bring point charge Q2 to the position vector at the position R2, say, and the distance between Q1 and Q2 will be is given by R1 to 2. Now in this case the work done will be the magnitude of charge multiplied by the potential. Then the potential at the position vector R2 will be given by potential at point R2. It will be given by 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, and due to Q1, the potential is due to Q1 upon R1 to 2, and this is for charge Q2. Now if we bring charge Q3 at the position R3, now at this point R3, the potential at R3 will be due to both Q1 and Q2. So W3 will be given by Q3 times of potential at the position R3, and that is given by 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught multiplied by then the potential at the position R3 due to Q1 will be given by Q1 by the distance R1 to 3. Let's say this distance is R1 to 3. Let's say this distance is R2 to 3. This will be R1 to 3 plus the potential due to the charge Q2 will be given by Q2 by R2 to 3. Then the total work done will be given by W1 plus W2 plus W3, which will also be equal to the stored energy of the system, and this will be given by W1 is 0, W2 is given by, this is W2, be given by Q2 to Q1 by 4 pi epsilon naught R1 to 2. Similarly, W3 will be given by taking 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. Outside it will be Q1 Q3 R1 to 3 plus Q3 Q2 by R2 to 3. And overall we can write total stored energy equals to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught plus Q1 Q2 upon R1 to 2 plus Q1 Q3 R1 to 3 plus Q2 Q3 R2 to 3, and this is the total energy for a collection of 3-point charges. Now, for n point charges, suppose there is a collection of Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, similarly n number of charges present into the system, and total energy, which is total potential energy stored in the system. Now, if we look at this formula, we can generalize it for n number of charges, and this will be given by, let us call it as W only, total energy. It will be given by 1 by 2 multiplied by summation I equals to 1 to n Qi multiplied by summation j is equal to 1 to n j naught equal to I q qj by r ij. This is the general formula. We will see why we have taken the term 1 by 2 here. This is the general formula for the stored energy for a collection of n number of charges. Now, how do we obtain this formula? We can verify this for 3-point charges as well. Now, the term 1 by 2 is used to avoid doubling effect. Let us see how. Suppose this is for n number of point charges. This is the total stored energy. Now we want to do the same for 3-point charges. Then it will be given by 1 by 2 summation I is equal to 1 to 3 qi summation j is equal to 1 to 3 and j not equal to I qj upon r ij. Let us expand it. So it will be given by 1 by 2. Let's start with I is equal to 1. Then this will be given by q1 and putting the value of j, and we have missed one point here. It is also multiplied by 4 pi epsilon naught. As you can see from this formula for 3-point charges. Now let us verify this. The general formula for n-point charges for 3-point charges. In q1 it will be q2 r 2 to 1, and let us take this 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. Let me write here 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught multiplied by now plus q3 by r 3 to 1. Then let's take another charge, and I is equal to 2 q2 q1 by r1 to 2 plus q3 by r3 to 2, the distance between them, plus I is equal to 3 q3, this will be q1 by r3 to 1 plus q2 upon r2 to 3. Now if you compare, this is the total stored energy for 3-point charges, but as we have found out, the total stored energy for 3-point charges given by this equation. Now this equation contains 1, 2, 3, total 3 terms, but as you see here, this equation contains total 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 terms. And if you observe here, there are similar terms present. If you see q1 into q3 by r3 to 1, same term is present here. Then each term is appearing 2 times. Hence, to avoid this doubling effect, the term 1 by 2 is divided in the whole equation. Hence, this whole equation for the system of n-point charges is verified for 3-point charges. Once again, let me write for n-point charges, total stored energy is given by, let's say, call it for n-point charges, 1 by 2 multiplied by, let me write in a more general formula, I is equal to 1 to n qi, and then writing here 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught qj summation, to make it more clear, I is equal to 1 qi, take this into bracket, summation 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, and j is equal to 1 to n, where j not equal to I. This is qj upon r ij or ji. So this is the general formula. Now this term represents nothing but the potential at which the point charge qi is present. If we rewrite this equation, Wn will be written as summation of qi times of vi, the potential at which the charge qi is present. Now one more point to be noted is that it doesn't matter how this charge configuration has been obtained. Either you start from q1 charge, or you can start from qn charge or q4 charge. Doesn't matter how do you collect the charges, the total and stored energy will always be the same. Can write here total stored energy is independent of how the charges have been configured. So if you see the case of 3-point charges, in this case we had started with q1 and eventually we had added the charge q2 and then q3. But you can start from any way, you can just verify it by calculating it on your own. You can either start with q2 and then bring the charge q1 and then q3, or you can start with q3 and then bring the charge q1 and then q2. The total stored energy will always be the same. Now this is for this equation is for n point charge distribution half qi summation vi. Vi stands for potential at ith point in a space. Now if we have got continuous charge distribution, suppose we have got volume charge density or line charge density, or let's say we have got surface charge density, then we can write the same formula W as half. Now the summation will be changed into integral since we are dealing with the continuous charge distribution, and let's say rho is the volume charge density. Then it will be written as rho v times of the potential V and dV. This is for volume charge. Similarly, if we have got surface charge, then the total energy stored in the system will be given by the integral. Let's say lambda is the linear line charge density, rho v into dl. And let's say we have got the third case where dl stands for differential length. This differential volume, let's not confuse with that. Let me make it clear, this is for the line charge, because we have taken the line charge density, and for surface charge it will be given by W R. That's a sigma is the surface charge density and V is the potential ds. Where sigma is the surface charge density. Now let us look into the one more important point. How do we define energy density for continuous charge distribution? Let's take an example of, let's say we have for volume charge, it is given by 1 by 2. If rho v is the volume charge density and V is the potential and dV is the differential volume. Now, using Gauss law for electric fields, we know that rho v will be given by epsilon naught times of del dot E. We are already aware about that. If E is, let's say, the electric field, then W, instead of writing rho v, we can write epsilon naught times del dot E times of V is the potential and dV is the differential volume. Not confuse capital V with small v. dV stands for differential volume, capital T. V stands for the potential. Now see, let us see this relation. If we are taking dot product, if you are calculating the divergence of electric field multiplied by the scalar quantity, which is the potential, then this relation equates to del dot E times of potential plus E dot the gradient of the potential. This is a standard relation, not to worry about. So if we see, we have got the same term here, then we can write del dot E times of V equals to E minus E dot del of the gradient of the potential V. Now putting this relation in this equation for the total energy, we can write W equals to half, taking epsilon naught outside, will be del dot EV minus dot del V dV. Once again writing this, W equals to epsilon naught by 2. Now we have got two integrals. E dV and then minus E dot del of V dV. These two are the integrals. Now for this particular integral, let us apply Gauss divergence theorem. As you see, this is a volume integral and this can be converted into a surface integral. And W will be given by epsilon naught by 2. Let us convert into a surface integral. This is a volume integral. Let us convert into the surface integral. Then the volume integral will be changed into surface integral. It will be given by EV dot ds. And as we know that electric field is given by the negative of the negative gradient of the potential, then this minus del of V can be written as plus E dot E dV. Now let us consider we have got, let's say, a charge configuration, continuous charges configuration whose volume charge density is given by rho v. Now let us consider a smooth Gaussian surface whose volume is V and bounded by the surface S. This is a closed surface. Now let's say all the charges in the universe is present inside this Gaussian surface. Let's say all charges in the universe is present inside this surface S. So it doesn't matter, we can expand the Gaussian surface S as per our will, because all the charges are present inside the Gaussian surface. And as we know, using the Gauss law, the net electric flux through any Gaussian surface equals to the total charge present inside the surface. Now since all the charges are present inside the surface, then we can expand the surface S, and we can expand the surface S to infinite radius. so as to cover all space. If we take the whole space as our Gaussian surface, then this surface will tend towards infinity, and at infinity the potential tends towards zero because it is a decaying field. Since v tends to 0 as s tends to infinity, that means we can say that this particular integral will tend towards 0. As s expands to infinity, we are left only with this equation, this integral. Hence we can write w equals to epsilon naught by 2 e dot e to, and since we have expanded s to cover all the space, we can write here this is taken for all space, and total energy will be given by epsilon by 2, and E dot E will be simply magnitude of E whole square, and simply E square into T, all space. So we can take all space, or because all the charges have been assumed to be concentrated inside the Gaussian surface. Now this particular term is known as energy density. That means it is total stored energy per unit volume for a continuous volume charge distribution, also called as total stored energy per unit volume. This is the concept of energy density, and you can see that this energy density, let's say ET energy density, is proportional to square of the electric field. Let us take an example of a parallel plate capacitor. Let's say we have a parallel plate capacitor with voltage V, let me correct it. This will be minus, this is for plus, right? The voltage is P here, and let's say this is the parallel plate capacitor with area, plate area, let us call it as A, and this distance between them is D. Now under a static condition, we know that the total stored energy, if the gap is filled with air, total stored energy will be given by half C V square, where C is the capacitance, which is given by epsilon naught A by D. Now we can derive the same energy, we can find the same energy using the concept of energy density. Let's see how. Let's say the total energy given by W epsilon naught equal to epsilon by T for capacitance integral just E square into dV. Now as we know, for the parallel plate capacitor, the electric field will be given by the magnitude. So let us write E is given by voltage upon D, volt per meter. And we can simply write W equals to epsilon naught by 2. So we V square upon D square dV. Now since V and D are constant, taking them outside, it will be V square upon D square integration dV, and the total volume will be given by simply area times of D, E square by D square into A times of T. Now collecting all the terms will be epsilon naught A dd cancelled by T times of V square, and this is nothing but the capacitance. As we see, we just derived the stored energy in the capacitor with the help of the concept of energy density. So we will continue our discussion. Thank you.